Hi, hello, my name is Jen and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start off this video with a hypothetical multiple choice question for you. If you were to be the judge in a case where someone had kidnapped a young woman, kidnapped her to a basement and repeatedly her and tortured her for over 24 hours, how do you think you would choose to punish this offender? Would you option 1, put them in 10 years in prison? Option number 2, 20 years to life in prison? Or option number 3, less than 5 years in prison and a reward of almost 1 million Swedish kroner? Let's get the drum roll. So if you picked option number 3, then you are truly in line with Swedish values, and I am proud of you for choosing to help this socioeconomically vulnerable refugee who had no other choice but to become a rapist. And you see, this is actually his second time offending, but never mind that. You see, according to an age evaluation that had to be done because he had previously lied about his age to the immigration agency, it was shown that he was underage at the time of committing this crime. And according to Swedish law, you cannot really be held in prison if you are a minor. Even though some of you might say that, well, if you can do the crime, you can do the time. That's not how it works. This means that he, of course, had to be compensated handsomely for the trauma of going through Swedish prison system. Yikes. Let's go through an overview of what actually happened here and then try to end this video on a little more positive note, because this story is really grim. I almost did not cover this story because I refuse to participate in the continuous flow of negative stories which are just bound to blacken your soul. I think that a lot of political content right now does just that, and I think it's important when we're talking about these types of stories to focus on what you can do and to remind ourselves that we are not hopeless. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's just get into it. Damir Al-Ali was charged for the gross rape of a young woman. He and his brother snuck into a woman's house and assaulted her under gun threat and also choked her unconscious. When they left her, they took her money and other of her belongings. While in court, one of the men laughed at her. She says in her own words that she is scared, she does not go out after dark, and that she cries a lot. She's still in therapy for what happened to her. On top of this, when they had arrested the two men, it was found that the two men had also raped another woman who they had kidnapped into a basement and tortured and repeatedly raped for over 24 hours. For these crimes, the two brothers were originally sentenced to 10 years, but because they had committed several crimes, they got the so-called penalty discount that we have here in Sweden and ended up with 4.5 years. After they had served their time, an age evaluation was done, which showed that the Syrian refugee was 16 at the time of committing the crime, which means that he should have gotten another reduction to his sentencing. This is what resulted in him getting granted 840,000 Swedish kroners in damages. This has to be put in relation to the fact that their victim was only granted 225,000 Swedish kronor for the trauma that she had gone through, which she only received 3,000 kronor from. And also, a ruling has been made that the 840,000 that Damir Al-Ali was granted cannot be used to pay the victim. Damir Al-Ali was, in any way you look at it, rewarded for raping this woman. However much modern culture wants to push individualism as the highest value, we are not capable of taking care of ourselves on our own. And the Swedish social democratic ideal a lot of us have taken to heart has in one way or another gotten us to trust in the state more than our own people and our own families. We call our welfare system from the cradle to the grave, but a lot of us don't feel like the politicians, our governments, teachers, judges, healthcare providers are on our side. So what happens when a judge favors the offender who isn't even a Swedish citizen but is here by our supposed goodwill, rather than the victim. You might remember the gruesome humiliation robbery that I covered last fall. It horrified many of us, and I cannot even begin to imagine the trauma that the victims and the family have gone through. They were tortured for hours, humiliated, and assaulted. The justice system failed them too, with punishments so low that the judge might as well just have spit them in the face. But then something happened. A fundraiser was started by political influencer and moderate politician Hanif Bali, and everyone who had been horrified by the case chipped in what they could. A total of 2 million Swedish kroners were collected for the boys. This money will not undo what happened that night, but it will help the boys get back on their feet in some way, make sure they know that they are not alone, and that there are people who want what's best for them. It will give them the opportunity to get the best care that they can. Maybe they were able to get away or get themselves something nice. It will be one less thing to worry about if they have to take some time off to heal. This money also has great symbolic meaning. People are more than willing to help. It also symbolizes a clear distinction between us and the state and government. While we work and pay our taxes, the government collects these money and gives them to rapists and lying immigrants. If we want victims to get our money and our help, we have to give them out of our own pockets, and we have to help them ourselves. This was money that our justice system would never grant the victims, but we are not the state. I remember hearing Hanif Bali talk about these two men sometime after everything had gone down. He said that things were actually really looking up for them, and that one of them had gotten into the school that they had dreamt of and was really looking forward to their future. I remember being very moved by that, as I and so many had been horrified by what had taken place and had been very worried about the two men. Something similar happened in this case too. The same person started another fundraiser and another 2 million was collected. She only received 3,000 by the state, but she received 2 million from us. We are capable of helping each other. We are not helpless, and we do not have to stand idle when our friends, family, and peers are being abused right in front of our eyes. We need to drop the defeatist attitude that I see too many sporting. We can make a difference. We can speak up when we see something. We can act on our beliefs, and we can work for change instead of only blaming the politicians in charge. As people, we need to feel that we are active players in our own lives and in our society, so we do not turn into nihilism and let the hopelessness deprive us of our drive. The ultimate white pill in this situation is that this only shows a small % of the power we have to change things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! I want to say a huge thank you to Craig Nickerson, T. Smith, John Patrick, Rodney Biggs, Simon Sandström, Half Empty, David, Mark Bush Jørgensen, and Scott Allen, who are my top Patreons. And a huge thank you to the rest of my Patreons as well for supporting me and supporting this channel. I will see you in the next one. Bye!